Welcome to the Sharkpreneur podcast with Kevin Harrington and Seth Greene. Kevin Harrington is the inventor of the infomercial, one of the original sharks from the hit TV show Shark Tank, and has generated over $5 billion in TV and digital direct response sales. Seth Greene is the world's first trusted authority on cutting-edge direct response marketing, a best-selling author, and the only 3-time Marketer of the Year nominee. On the podcast, Kevin and Seth interview sharkpreneurs who share straight talk on what it takes to explode your business.
Why do so many businesses struggle while others seem to explode overnight? Do you wish you had the secret to this type of exponential growth? Now, I've scaled more than 20 businesses to over $100 million, and it's not just luck. In my new book with Mark Tim, Mentor to Millions, you'll learn the repeatable framework I use in all my business ventures for massive success. Order at kevinmentor.com and get over $1,000 in bonuses. Head to kevinmentor.com.
Welcome to the Sharkpreneur podcast. This is your co-host, Seth Greene. Today, I've got the good fortune to be joined by Dr. Paul Scheele, who co-founded Learning Strategies back in 1981. He combines the expertise in neurosciences, business psychology, and learning to guide people to achieve extraordinary results in relationships, work, money, and health. He's an expert in learning how to tap the other 90% of the mind and believe everyone has an inner genius just waiting to be awakened. Full disclosure, I have been a customer client of Learning Strategies for at least 20 years, and I'm a huge fan. So this is an enormous pleasure for me and an honor. Dr. Paul, thanks so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Thanks very much, Seth. Great to be here.
All right, let's go back in time a little bit. What prompted you to start Learning Strategies back in 1981?
Well, I really recognized the power of the human mind that was not being communicated in most venues that I was paying attention to. During my undergrad degree in biology, I had the fortunate opportunity to study clinical hypnotherapy and became a clinical hypnotherapist. Imagine that as your summer job while going to university. It was pretty cool. And one of the things that my teacher said, if people just understood what a hypnotist knows, they'd be way more effective in every area of their life, certainly in communicating in any place that they may find themselves. And it really turned out to be true. And I committed myself after doing a demonstration of stage hypnosis to really making sure people understood the phenomenal power that's not only life enhancing, but also self-sabotaging if you don't use it properly.
Okay, so we could spend the whole time talking about that, but let's dive further in. So what is Learning Strategies? For those folks who don't know, what are the Paraliminals and other things that you are so famous for?
Well, the Learning Strategies Corporation I started in March of 1981, which is exactly at the time that we're recording this, 40 years ago yesterday. So it's a big celebration.
Happy anniversary. What timing.
Thank you. Yeah, how about that? Pretty exciting. And that was designed as a human resource training and development consultancy. So I was working with major corporations in the upper Midwest. I was doing one-on-one consultations with people, with what's known as coaching nowadays, but mentoring using neuro-linguistic programming, which is a technology for understanding how the human mind works. And the recognition that I'm pretty limited in how many people I could see on a daily basis, what I did is I moved that forward using state-of-the-art recording technology in order to present our products to a broader audience. And we're selling our home study programs and our Paraliminal technology in 185 countries today.
That is absolutely incredible. And obviously, the longer version of that story is probably in one of your books or belongs in one. So what exactly this is obviously a show for entrepreneurs and business owners. What do you think some of the biggest mistakes we make are when it comes to not using our minds effectively?
Well, I'll just say that every business owner and entrepreneur like me, starting things out 40 years ago. And, even as I reached the pinnacle of success with the organization, who has enough time, who has enough energy, who has enough cash flow to really do all the things that we want to be able to do? And so as a result of that, oftentimes when we look at the possibilities that are in front of us, we'll back away from them out of the belief that we don't have time, we don't have money, we don't have the resources to be able to move forward. And the truth is that you really do. If you pause, take a moment to drop into a place of higher resourcefulness within you, and then lean into it. So leaning into the success that you're truly asking for and live wholeheartedly into it. You may know as well as anyone, Seth, that we have to be pretty opportunistic when we're pursuing our dreams as entrepreneurs, which means we have to be open to the opportunities as they present themselves. And if we hesitate, if we back away, if we let it pass, it may never come back again. And so we really do have to step up our game. And when we're tired, and when we don't have enough time, and when we've got busyness all around us, how do you find the resources within you to do that? That's really the focus that I've taken on.
And what, for folks again who don't know yet, what is a paraliminal? Because I think everybody's familiar with with subliminal programming and the famous experiments in movie theaters, decades and decades ago. And they might even be familiar a little bit with how subliminal learning could work. But what's a paraliminal? Because you've taken it to a whole nother level.
Yeah, back in the day, early 1980s, when I was getting my business up and running, subliminals were the big thing. And really, having researched it pretty thoroughly, I found out that the most effective subliminal suggestion, in other words, this is something that's below your threshold of being able to hear it, right? Subliminal means below the threshold. So you can't really hear it, but it has the biggest effect. You ready for this one, Seth? Mommy and I are one. That's the most effective subliminal suggestion. So I'm sorry, but I'm an educator. I'm a human development specialist. If I'm going to give myself over to somebody who's made a recording with 100,000 subliminal messages in it, and most of them are mommy and I are one, I don't want to play. So I said, there's got to be a better way. And the image that came to me was this creation of a place where we can contact the resources that are already within us. And as a hypnotherapist, I understood how powerful that subconscious mind is. So paraliminal means that it's beyond the threshold of your conscious awareness. You actually hear my voice in both ears, or my voice and one of my collaborators' voices in the two ears, and each message is going to a separate hemisphere of the brain. Now you can hear them all, but you can't process two voices simultaneously going that fast. So what we end up doing is we go into a deeper state that bypasses that limited critical faculty of the mind. And then I get to work directly with that powerhouse that resides within you. Now we've got over 50 titles of paraliminal recordings. They're all 20 minutes in length, or a couple are a little different than that, but the idea is that in 20 minutes you can close your eyes, you can make contact with powerful resources and start transferring those out into your life right away.
That is absolutely incredible. Again, I am a product of the product. I have used them for decades. Why do you think we don't use more of our brain? Why do you think so many people aren't aware of these amazing life-changing resources?
Well, first of all, the idea is that most of us have been trained from very early childhood to marginalize those further resources. For example, if you step up and are lined up with a lot of people and you take a step forward, a lot of people would want to pull you back because you look like you're getting ahead and nobody else is. So our family systems, our educational institutions, our culture in general wants us to play at a normal level. Don't get too full of yourself. And the truth is that if you're going to really recognize how powerful you are going to operate from a completely different level than most people are dealing with. And when you went to school, let me ask you, Seth, did you ever have a math teacher that said, now students, I know that all this information is secure in your inner mind, and we're going to take an important test right now, so close your eyes, get in touch with those powerful resources, visualize yourself succeeding on this test, so that each question that you ask is going to flow freely through your mind with the answer that you already know to be true within you.
I don't know. Absolutely not. You know that.
I don't think so. Yeah. So the idea is, here is this profound human resource within every single human being. Nobody's talking about it. We never hear about it in any of our education. And so the idea is we want to educate people about what they don't know. What are the secrets that they're telling themselves? Like, don't let anybody know that I feel like I don't have time here, or, that you feel disconnected from the true source of your power within. And we're not going to share that with other people. And so we play it close to the vest, we keep it simple. And the truth is, it's time for us to step up. So I created a program called Superpower, Super You. And that's the idea that you can recognize the super abilities beyond genius level capabilities. You have a genius body, you have genius emotional nervous system, you have a genius mind. It's a matter of gaining access to all of that. And it's not that difficult. A lot of times it's about coming out of the trance of limitation that you've been placed under by the culture that raised you.
If we have these genius natural systems, how is it that we've managed to mess them up so much, that we have chronic disease of things that are lifestyle choices, chronic obesity and stress and heart disease and all that, and the mental health epidemic in our country? How have we managed to mess up our beautiful machine?
Well, it's a complex social issue that you might need to explore for a little bit longer than we have in our show today. But having written a doctoral PhD dissertation on the critical incident of transformation, I can tell you in great detail how we can transform ourselves. Now, why are we so disassociated from the real power and potential within us? Dr. Buckminster Fuller said in the foreword to Mario Montessori's book, he said, it's Maria Montessori. Maria Montessori's grandson wrote a book, and Buckminster Fuller was in the front of it. And he said, all children are born genius. But out of 10,000 children born in the world, 9,999 of them will be systematically de-geniused by the time they reach the 5th grade. So when my wife and I raised our children, we realized they were born geniuses. And our job wasn't to stuff into them more of our views of how the world is, but to help liberate the gifts that they're here to bring to the world. So we saw our role as essentially running interference, blocking those who would de-genius them, running interference so that they could keep their genius capacities alive. And I will say something that's really interesting, Seth, that when each of them, we have 3 boys, and when each of them were going into the 5th grade, I mean, this is how prescient Dr. Fuller was. As they were going into the 5th grade, each one of them was in the gifted pullout program, which gave them a lot more things to do, read activities, and really explore the true power within them. Each one of them said, hey, Dad, I'm thinking of dropping out of the Wings program this year. And I said, really? Okay. So let me ask you, do you like the work? Love the work. Do you like what you're learning? Love what I'm learning. Do you like the program? Yes. Well, why are you not wanting to be a part of it? Because none of my friends want to be in it. And you could see the social pressure, Seth, of everyone in their community, their tribe was falling away because they didn't want to stand out. They didn't want to do the extra work. They wanted to drop to a level of mediocrity. And when I said, let me just ask you one thing, would you be willing to stay in it just for one more year? Absolutely wanted to do it. And that was all it took. And they stayed with it. They went to AP programs. They did, post-secondary enrollment options, went to college while they're juniors in high school. It's so cool what a human being could do. Another story, there was a man in one of my workshops who said, Paul, you talk about accelerated learning, finding our genius. By the time I was 19 years old, he said, I finished college, I finished law school, I was a professor at the law school, and I was a judge in my country. And he said, my father was a judge and a senator. And he said that he came into his father's study, a library, floor to ceiling. He said, son, this is all yours and you can go at whatever rate you want. Now that's accelerated learning. That's a potential within us. But how are we treated going through our school system? Can we be recognized for the genius that is within us?
What do you like best about what you do?
Well, the thing that I stand against is the de-geniusing of people, right? And so what I stand for is the recognition that there is power in you. There is a potential in you that may be unrealized, that is as near as your own breath, as close as your own heartbeat. You're literally within one thought of gaining access to that power and potential within. And what I know is that so many people are suffering. Like you had mentioned, there's so many people suffering. And there are a lot of religious traditions at the bottom line of what they say is that suffering really is a product of your mind. And there is a way to experience love and joy and peace and happiness, gratitude and contentment in every aspect of your life. So turning people on to how easy it is to have those powerful emotions and recognize their capacity to solve problems, that's my true joy. Talk about psychological benefit for the work you do. It's absolutely fabulous.
That is incredible. You've helped hundreds of thousands of people over the decades. With all the success you've achieved, what's your biggest challenge now?
Well, I'm continuing to try to help people who don't know about my work find out about me. After 45 years of doing this work, I don't like to be a secret to folks. I want people to know who I am and the kinds of products and services that we have available, how accessible they are, how inexpensive it is to really participate in the tremendous power that's within you. And to be able to coach is a great joy of mine in this phase of my life. I'm really in a legacy part of my career. So having gotten my doctorate and reached retirement age, what I'm seeing is if I can work with one person like you, Seth, who has an audience of tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people, then I know that my effect is amplified through your work. So any help that I can be of you is something that gets transmitted to everyone whose lives you touch. And that's the difference. Anyone watching this understands you've made a difference in their lives. That power and that potential within you can be expanded exponentially. You know what it's like, don't you?
I do. I get up for the ripple effect every day.
You do. You can see that you're always up against the next big challenge that you want to break through. So as you develop the habit of jumping over each of those hurdles and breaking through each one of those barriers, every time you open a door, you make it easier for everyone you serve to pass through that same door.
I love that. That is a great quote, great writer downer. You are a voracious learner. What are 3 of your favorite books? And you can't quote yourself.
Oh, darn. Okay, then I won't quote Photo Reading, I won't quote Natural Brilliance, and I won't quote Drop into Genius. But the ones that I have been really enjoying, and this came through the work that I did in my doctoral degree as well. There's a book called Theory U by C. Otto Scharmer, who's an MIT professor, and he's been running the Gaia project. It's quite profound, the work that he's doing, Theory U. Another one is by Keegan and Leahy, and it's called Immunity to Change. And the immunity to change model is a powerful one to consider. This idea that we have a built-in barrier to making the very changes that you and I are advocating for people. And once you understand that immunity system is in place, you have a way to get to the other side of it. And after that, it's whatever book happens to be in my field of view at that moment. So those 2, I think, are the ones that I would hold up first of all.
Great recommendations, great interview, amazing business and service. I know you touched on it briefly earlier, but can you expand a little bit on the latest program, Super U?
Yeah, the Superpower Super U program is a way of helping people understand the areas in which they can break through very, very easily. It's a free webinar. I'm joined by a number of my colleagues from the Transformational Leadership Council. I talk about the various paraliminals, so if anybody that is a fan of yours is already a paraliminal listener, they can use those paraliminals to have the breakthroughs in those areas. So it's about abundance. It's about better relationships and communication. It's about your health. It's about your physical, your emotional, your mental powers, and being able to bring those forward in a way that really shows you what you can do. So I help you establish clear objectives and priorities, give you exercises that you can use to immediately start using them. It's a fun webinar. I think it's something like 7 hours of great content, and it's available to everyone with a click that I believe Learning Strategies has provided for you.
Awesome. Well, we greatly appreciate your time, your expertise. I listen to mine every day. We greatly appreciate all the time you've spent with us. This has been Seth Greene for Sharkpreneur with Dr. Paul Scheele of Learning Strategies. Make sure you check out the link in the show notes to Superpower, Super U. Dr. Paul, thanks so much for being here.
A pleasure. Thanks, Seth. We'll see you again soon.
Yes. Thanks, everybody, for watching or listening. We'll see you next time. Do you need money to fund your idea, product, or service? Are you ready to take your business to the next level, but need capital to get it done? Kevin Harrington has heard more than 50,000 pitches and knows how to help you make the perfect pitch to get the funding for your entrepreneurial dream. He's distilled the process down in his perfect pitch cheat sheet, and it's yours for free. Just text PITCH to him right now at 727-888-2100. Text PITCH to 727-888-2100 right now and claim your free perfect pitch cheat sheet. Text PITCH to 727-888-2100 to start funding your dream today.
This show has been produced by Market Domination, LLC. To discover how you can have your own show completely done for you and turn it into a real published book and become the authority in your marketplace, go to www.marketdominationllc.com/podcast offer.